So I'd previously made a video about the concept of time being a finite resource that is underappreciated and undervalued, and how we can spend moments with loved ones in a negative state, at odds, and arguing when there's only a few of those moments that we're ever going to have. And oftentimes, even if we were to average it out and say, okay, their life expectancy is this amount, mine is this amount, we have 50 years of moments together. Those 50 years are not going to be moments where you're always talking. And those 50 years are not going to be moments where you're always congruent and aligned and in a state of positivity. And it started to really dawn on me that thought of like, wow, the people I really care about and love, did I really appreciate that? There's only going to be a few of those moments. Now, a few, it could be 100, it could be 70, it could be 1,000, but it's definitely a finite amount. There is a limit. There's not an unlimited amount of moments. And just the idea of being at odds with someone when now through that lens, I was talking about in the previous video about how every negative day you spend living, or every negative moment you share with someone, you're taking away from a pool of potentially positive days from a limited amount. And it started to weigh on me. I thought, okay, what is the solution? What I had to really ruminate on the idea of like, what is the meaning behind this? I had to go within and kind of push my conscious to understand why. And this gave me, the idea of God's timing. This is incomprehensible to us. This is on a different timeline. And just so you can follow it congruently, what I'm going to do is going to read one of my journal entries, trying to understand and extrapolate why I was feeling so bad about this, but how I can almost overcome it. It was almost like cope. It was like cope for dealing with the fact that, maybe I've mismanaged the way I allocate my time with people, my energy with people. Because if they're people I care about, every moment I should be trying to pour into it with positivity. And if they're not pouring into it with positivity, I need to try and flip it because there's only so few of those moments. And this led me to God's timing. I had to cope with the idea that I'd mismanaged this time. I had to cope with it. But with me, because I believe this, I believe it's bearable. So I want to share it with you guys. God's timing can make up for time you think you've lost. Now, in this capacity, it was more the idea of being at odds with people who I love, odds with people who I care about. God's timing can make up for the time you think you've lost. What feels like wasted years can collapse into months once the season starts to shift. Now, the reason I was able to cope with this is because I'm thinking, okay, my level of consciousness now, perhaps I had to go through those years to get this level of understanding to now maximize the time I have with people even further. So now when I spend time with people, because I'm aware of this, God's timing, it collapses time. What felt like years wasted is collapsed because the potency of love and appreciation I'll be able to give to people is now increased. You understand? Sometimes the delay wasn't a loss, it was an element of protection. Okay? So you could think that you've wasted this time, arguing with your partner, arguing with your siblings, arguing with your spouse, being at odds with your kids. But really, this was preventing you from maybe fracturing the relationship worse. And it's going to allow you to have a deeper understanding and appreciation for them. The version of you back then wasn't ready to carry what you were asking for. Now, some of us have such high aspirations and desires, we think that we're ready in that moment of time. And we ask for certain things. We ask for the wisdom. We ask to be loving. We ask to be caring. We ask to be trusting. And then we don't want to have any of the challenges that would create the person that has these qualities. God's timing. God's timing compresses this. So you thought you're ready. I thought I was ready. I thought I was ready to, you know, embrace certain experiences. And I wasn't. I had to learn things. I had to elevate my consciousness. I had to have a certain level of understanding to really appreciate it. and hopefully allow other people to appreciate the same situations even more. What does that do? Again, it increases the intensity and the potency and the purity of those moments because I can see it now. Clarity is everything. Keys unlock things, keys clear. Keys unlock things to see things clearly. It's in the name. Peep game. 1 year of alignment can outweigh 10 years of struggle because when the timing is divine, God's timing, the results are compressed. This is when people talk about overnight success when they've been grinding for 10 years. You know, one of my videos can blow up. I'm not even really banking on that. I just want to put value out. One of my videos could blow up, but are you seeing the consistent daily uploads? Are you going to go back through and see, oh, wow, you didn't miss a day for how long? Okay. The results are compressed. So what you see and your level of comprehension is never going to be the same as God's. Remember that. Now, you can look to religious scriptures, you can look in the Quran, you can look in the Bible. If you're a spiritual person, you can look at elements of this. The Bible shows this through Job, through Joseph, through people who waited, suffered, and then were restored with more than they started with. Again, it's not to bring religious aspects into it, but it's just an example. People who waited, suffered, they were restored with more than they started with. So you think in that moment of time you're suffering when God's plan for you was so much more. You're restored with more than you had before. I could think that the level of love. So let's say my goal is to love my closest family dearly. I could think that my level of love is potent when really I just have a lack of understanding. And maybe I have to go through certain things or fracture certain relationships to understand that my love is even deeper. To feel a level, you have to have a certain level of understanding. Where are you going to get the understanding from? From tribulation and trials and being tested. God's timing is starting to slowly make sense. Okay? Time isn't wasted if it shaped you for the season ahead. How can it be a waste of time if applying this makes me the competent person that's able to handle the next level? It's not time wasted, it's time invested. Anxiety comes from clinging on to your own clock. But when you trust in God's clock, God's timing, you realize purpose can't be rushed and it can't be missed. So, this sort of musing was me reflecting and trying to, I guess I said, trying to cope with the idea that, damn, time is so precious. How we treat people and how we value that time when there's only a limited amount of moments is really important. And I started to think, how have I wasted some of these moments? And then it came full circle. God's timing. Time is compressed. Those moments that felt like forever when you're at odds with someone. It just might be now that you're able to really understand what this situation was preparing you so that you can have a deeper level of appreciation and those moments are even more pure. How amazing is that? You know, that the concept of it's almost like your childhood crush, you know, you think you love them, and then you get a little bit older and you realize, oh, that was just the girl next door. She just happened to be in this situation because of proximity. You get older, you get into another relationship. Now it's a bit more serious. Now let's say we're not pushing promiscuity. So let's just say you you go from a childhood crush, your first relationship, and you're like, wow, this is pure. You go on to get married and have kids. Now your kids are that new level of unconditional love. And it's just building and it's understanding that that time can be compressed. And what you thought looking through a lens was authentic love when you were a kid is completely different now. But you've had to go through things and elevate as a person to have a certain level of appreciation. God's timing. So, yeah, I found it quite profound. I also find that it helped me to have closure and solace in certain moments that I don't understand, because I have to understand that it's for the greater good. And if I want to obtain certain things, they're going to be attached to difficulty. We know that we can't disassociate the two. Discomfort and growth, they're not mutually, they come together, they're not mutually exclusive. They come as one. And you can be present and begin to understand that, and understand that things are happening for you, not to you. God's timing. Things are happening for you. You're going through things to uncover and unearth a new being that's going to be better, capable, prepared for situations that come your way. God's timing. So, yeah, if you've made it this far, I know you understand what I'm talking about, but just trust the process. Trust the process, and understand that things are happening for you, not to you. Shift that victim mindset. Eliminate it, delete it. It's not serving you. You just need to serve God. You got this. Let's go.